Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation to bring you my list preview for my battle against Lane and his Deathwatch later on tonight. So if you watch some of my recent videos, I've been talking a lot about Cryptex. So in this army, I brought them all. Every single one of them, except Oregon, which you'll see soon, and I'll explain why. But other than that, I wanted to give all of them, a chance to get on the channel, try them out, especially since we've been talking about them. What best way to do it than right here on the table? So guys, if you haven't subscribed already, please do turn on the bell for notifications to get notified on all the content we bring you here, including the battle report and Lane's list when they go live. So with that being said, let's jump over in the army so that I can talk more about what I'm trying to do and what we're planning here. All right, here it is. This is my Necron army, and no, that's not just a piece of terrain. I'm bringing a Monolith, which post the 10th edition would have been like a little more obscure. We have had the Monolith once on the channel in 9th edition with a very strong, crazy, weird list that we played. But this time, we are just bringing the Monolith itself, and no extra gimmicks, no overwhelming this, that, and the other. It's just Monolith. And one, which plays to the name of Mono. All right, so let's jump into the list and what we got. So first of all, we have 50 warriors, 2 of which are going to be 20-mans, and 1 is a 10. Now, one of my 10-mans is unpainted, and I did that intentionally so that on camera we're able to see which warriors are with which squads to make it a little easier in case I do get bulked up and all around the same stuff. So 2 of the 20-mans are going to have Gauze Flares. And we're going to jump over into the characters that are with them. As you can see, there's some, every unit's got a character. So we aren't going to need the Sovereign for this game. So first of all, the Gray Squad. The Gray Squad has a Psychomancer and 2 Crypt Thralls. The Psychomancer is going to have the Hyper Material Albetor, which I know I'm going to butcher that for the entire edition. So he's going to be able to give them stealth as well as the count as cover ability outside of 12. Basically makeshift Chronomancer in some ways, but makeshift Chronomancer in some ways, but he has the additional little battle shock boost and stuff like that. Now, as I've said, I'm not a big fan of what this guy can do. I feel like there's other value trains, but to be completely fair, I gotta at least put him on the table one time and see what he can or cannot do. And he's got a full complement of 20 warriors with Gauze Flares and 2 Crypt Thralls for that little bit of extra defense. The next 20-man is going to also have Gauze Flares, and it is going to be led by a Chronomancer himself. So some of the things I've talked about with the Chronomancer and being able to shoot and move the squad and move block and Monolith and everything is going to be a big part of the list and the design and what I'm trying to do with these guys today. Now, if they get smoked off the table, I'm not going to get a chance to test it. So hopefully that happens, and hopefully I got enough other little boosts in here to keep them alive. Chronomancer giving them -1 to be hit. Hopefully we'll keep them afloat, and I have the 2 additional Crypt Thralls in there for that additional defense when needed. The last of my warriors is going to be a 10-man, and this is one I'm excited. I'm excited to use the Chronomancer squad, but I'm really excited for this squad because I've been looking at this for a while. So this is going to be a 10-man with Gauze Reaper. They will have a Plasmancer. Yeah, I'm getting it right now, the name correctly. They will have a Plasmancer with them, and they will go into a Ghost Arc. So this is a mobile unit that has better crit rate because of Plasmancer and a Ghost Arc support as well. So I'm really curious to see how this can do. My biggest fear is that Necron warriors are only T4 with a 4-up save, which makes them kind of crunchy. So my fear is that they get completely destroyed and ripped off the table. However, if they don't, they can reanimate pretty nicely and get back up to full squad size, especially because I should be able to have these guys on objectives relatively easily with the mobility that they're coming with. And for those who don't know, the Ghost Arc also does provide an old school last edition reanimate effect for a unit of warriors nearby him with the repair barge function. So, and he's got the Gauss Flare Array, which actually, I mean, like, the thing's a mean gunship as well, too. It's a whole bunch of extra shots. So it's not something you can just shrug a 5-man squad of Marines at and expect to clear it, because there's quite a bit more threatening you there. All right, now that we're out of the warriors, let's go over into some of the other stuff. First things first, I have a Canoptic Reanimator, because Canoptic Reanimator. I got a lot of things that he can do this. Originally in the first list, I had 2, but I dropped it because I wanted to be able to cram more stuff in here for the list and be able to just make sure that but I could not go without him. So what I wanted to get more guys in here, get more stuff, because win, lose, or draw, I want to see valid tests of this stuff on the table. And so everyone can kind of see this and look at some stuff. And during the game, I'll talk more about some of these things and what I know this works and doesn't work, and kind of help develop in the group and get ready to start moving into the next tier of Necron armies. All right, now we have the Monolith. I'm bringing one with Death Rays, and he will be deep striking, and he will be pulling a unit through, hopefully. Monolith is good now. I mean, realistically, like, yes, a Eldar D cannon can basically rip it off the table in some way, shape, or form really, really easily from a Wraith Knight. There is not really much in the game that it can't. Yes, Eldar have been nerfed with their Fate dice. It's still a massive amount of damage. Still a massive amount of damage that can hit this guy, but I'm not fearing the Wraith Knight. You know, we'll talk about that and look into that part of the game when we get past it. For right now, I want the Monolith on the table because I feel like the Monolith has play into a lot of other armies. So I will have the Death Rays on this one because with a lot of anti-infantry guns in the entire army, I wanted to be able to have those super guns. And again, with talking about Wraith Knights, this guy being able to deep strike in and melt away with his Death Rays to the Wraith Knight, that might be my only answer with this type of list. So, going over into some of my characters and some of the non-battle line units. First of all, I'm bringing an unpainted Illuminator Xeris. Mostly because this guy, I haven't decided if I want to do him in my green color scheme or just do some armor platings in the green color scheme and keep him silver because he's a named character. I've also considered getting a second one that I can paint in pieces because, man, this dude's got little parts and pieces all over him. But he will get painted pretty soon because I think he is definitely a valuable piece in Necrons right now. Different styles of lists. There's some armies that can run them, some that can't. This is a build that I think really can. He has the aura for the battle line units to give them +1 to their AP, as well as reducing AP into them. Armies are spending a command point every turn for Armor of Contempt. Here's a guy that just gets it. And heaven forbid he kills someone in combat, then he can increase the range of that aura. So, and he also has lone operative as long as he's within range of the warriors, so he just needs to stay close by them, and then he's not going to be able to get targeted unless they're within 12. And he does have a feel no pain and a decent stat line, so hopefully that'll keep him around at least. I feel like he's someone who I just need him for turns like 2 and 3 to be alive, and if he goes down on 4 or 5, that's more the expectation. All right, here we go. Last, but definitely not least, the Lychguard. The Lychguard will be led by a Technomancer. The Technomancer has Veil, because I want to keep that as a constant threat to be able to pick these guys up off the table and move them across the field into the later portions of the game. Again, these guys don't shoot for that Veil option, but having that threat to be able to pick these guys up and reposition them anywhere on the field is huge, especially considering how resilient these guys are, with the Technomancer giving them the feel no pain, as well as having 2 Crypt Thralls to give them a little bit of extra support, backed up by Stratagems, and as well the Reanimator during the early portions. These guys are really tough. Now, I don't have an Overlord in here, or a Lord. And the Overlord would give me the free strat or the Resurrection Orb. Something I've been thinking about, and we'll talk about this later on, is how good is the Resurrection Orb actually? Like, you're taking the Overlord for one reason, and the Resurrection Orb is free, I get it, but is it really that critical of a piece to have with the Lychguard and to have reanimate everything? All right, so there's the list. I think I basically covered everything with it. Again, we are bringing every single Cryptek unit except Orkin. Okay, so let's address the elephant in the room first. Why did I not bring Orkin? Well, the biggest reason I didn't bring him is, number one, I don't actually have the model. It's hard to get him right now. Number two, I wanted to get all of the unnamed Crypteks in there. I actually even debated putting Xeris in there at all, just because I was going to stick with the unnamed characters and Crypteks and stuff like that. But I felt like this list was a very good spot to put Xeris into it. And with some of my play styles and lists I play, I'm not necessarily sure that he's always going to be able to pop up. And with us talking about Crypteks entirely, I feel like this is the time I want to use him. His ability is more unique and tactical, as opposed to Orkin's, which is just it's very strong, but it's very stagnant. Orkin's ability is to give you a 4-up invuln. You put him in a unit has 4-up invuln. It's really that simple. Yes, he can go Super Saiyan and crush someone one turn and hit them hard, and boy, howdy does he. But really, for the other 4 turns of the game that he doesn't do that, he is a 4-up invuln, which is just relatively simple. So Xeris is a lot more, it has more layers to him. What his abilities do, what his effects can do. And I want to get him on the table and get a feel for what he can do on the overall scheme of the game. So that really sums it up a bit with everything. Overlords. So here's one that this week I'll probably make a video and I want to discuss this a little bit more. The Resurrection Orb. Now, the Resurrection Orb is a relic, or not really a relic, just an item that you take on your Overlords or your Command Barge. Command Barge functions a little differently, so we'll focus just on the Lords, Overlords, Locust Lords with the Res Orb. Unit they're attached to, in your opponent's command phase, you can roll reanimation rolls. So the only thing that I'm looking at it looks like if you're taking it, you can take it for free and you get it. But it's something I've noticed is more times than not, I reanimate during my turn and I bring the squad size back up. Then if I'm at full, then I'm pushing. If the squad's not at full or it's really, really seriously weak, then I might be hanging out on hiding on an objective for a turn to allow myself to rebuild even more. With that being said, in my opponent's turn, they have the strat to pop to reanimate there. Ghost Arcs and Reanimators are giving me more reanimation effects off there. I almost feel like if the unit units don't really pass that reanimation step for your opponent's command phase for it to be super, super effectual. With that being said, when we get to the point of, like when you take the Overlord for the effect of reducing a command point, or a Lord for ignoring battle shock for stratagem purposes, when you have those things in there for the units, the orb, I think, basically what I say is I don't think spending points just to get the orb is worth it. I think you spend points and you have the orb additionally. But I'm not sure on all the numbers on that. I haven't seen enough tests with it, and with or without the orb. It's just one of the things that I'm going through right now, and more of the reason that I'm considering it is because, and I know a lot of Necron players will agree with this, we are spending a lot on characters. We're spending a lot of points to put characters in units and have these other characters, and it just starts increasing that total really, really fast. So I'm trying to look at some of the characters that we take and go, okay, yes, that's good, but is it a necessity? Are we really getting the bang for our buck that we want to get out of that? And that's the kind of mindset. So it's not, I'm not downing the resurrection orb and saying it's not useful, it's not worth it. But is that a place where we can cut the points briefly to be able to spend it on other things, more models, more units, especially when you start looking at the grand scheme of things, some of the characters, some of the overlords and stuff like that are costing the same as like a locust heavy destroyer. I mean, the overlord's still more expensive, but we're able to get those additional models in there to be able to do more damage on the long haul. You know, we have things like the sovereign to be able to count them as characters. So can we get away from maybe some of these overlords and stuff like that? That's kind of been my mindset of like, what characters do we absolutely need at this point? And that's where I think we're starting to get to the point where Necrons, right before the Codex release or whatever it may be called and named, right before that hits, we're going to start to get into that next level of Necrons, where we start looking at some of the units and go, okay, yes, this is very good, but the cost for that in this build, we're not going to take X because we want more of Y. Guys, let me know what you think. I look forward to getting this roster on the table, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.